Almost every American household has used WD-40 at least once. But few people know the strange story behind it. A failed experiment repeated 39 times before the formula that changed everything finally worked. It was the early 1950s, and the world was locked in the Cold War. The United States was racing to build and deploy ballistic missiles capable of crossing continents. But before those missiles could ever be launched, they faced a quieter, more stubborn enemy: moisture. Rust and corrosion were silently destroying sensitive metal components during storage and transport. For aerospace engineers, this wasn't a minor inconvenience. Even a thin layer of corrosion could compromise a missile's performance or render it completely useless. The task of solving this problem fell to a small, relatively unknown firm based in San Diego, California, the Rocket Chemical Company. Despite its impressive-sounding name, the company had fewer than 40 employees and operated out of a modest facility. They specialized in industrial solvents and degreasers, and they were now being asked to develop a chemical formula capable of protecting the outer surfaces of the Atlas missile, one of America's earliest intercontinental ballistic missiles. Leading the effort was a chemist named Norman Larson. His goal was straightforward in theory, but maddeningly difficult in practice: create a compound that could displace water from metal surfaces and leave behind a lasting protective barrier. The formula had to work under real-world conditions, clinging to metal even when exposed to humidity and the stresses of transport. Larson and his small team got to work, mixing and testing chemical combinations one after another. Some formulas evaporated too quickly to be useful. Others failed to bond properly with metal surfaces. Some worked initially, but broke down over time. Each failed attempt sent them back to the drawing board, adjusting ratios, swapping ingredients, and running tests again. Then, on the 40th attempt, they got it right. The formula displaced water effectively, coated the surface evenly, and left behind a durable, protective film. They named it exactly what it was: water displacement 40th formula, WD-40. The name was utilitarian, almost boring, but it was accurate, and it would one day be recognized by hundreds of millions of people around the world. Initially, WD-40 never left the aerospace world. It was applied to the Atlas missile's metal surfaces by technicians, helping protect the hardware during long periods of storage. The formula performed exactly as intended. But something unexpected began to happen inside the walls of Rocket Chemical Company itself. Workers started noticing how effective the substance was beyond its official purpose. Technicians began quietly taking small quantities home, using it on rusty hinges, stuck bolts, corroded tools, and squeaky mechanical parts around the house. It worked remarkably well on all of them. Word spread fast. The chemical that had been designed for missiles was quietly solving the everyday frustrations of ordinary people. Management took notice. If their own employees found this many uses for it at home, how many other people might feel the same way? In 1958, Rocket Chemical Company made the decision to bring WD-40 to the general public. They packaged it in an aerosol spray can, a delivery method that made application clean, precise, and effortless. Hardware stores and auto shops began stocking it almost immediately. Mechanics fell in love with it. So did factory workers, farmers, cyclists, and homeowners. People discovered it could loosen frozen bolts, protect tools from seasonal rust, remove adhesive residue, clean grime from metal, silence squeaking hinges, and even displace moisture from wet electrical contacts. The list of uses kept growing, and customers kept writing in with new ones. Over the decades, the company collected thousands of documented uses from around the world. One particularly memorable story came from Southeast Asia, where a bus driver reportedly used WD-40 to free a python that had coiled itself around the undercarriage of his vehicle. That story says everything about how versatile and unpredictable the product's fanbase had become. The company eventually renamed itself the WD-40 Company, a reflection of just how completely the product had taken over its identity. The original Rocket Chemical Company no longer needed that name. WD-40 was the brand. As for what's actually inside that famous blue and yellow can, the full recipe remains one of the most closely guarded trade secrets in manufacturing history. The company has never published the complete formula. What analysts and safety data sheets do reveal is that WD-40 contains a mixture of hydrocarbons acting as solvents and lubricants, along with small amounts of lubricating oil. In aerosol form, carbon dioxide serves as the propellant. The magic lies in the balance of these components. It's not purely a lubricant, not purely a cleaner, and not purely a rust inhibitor. It does all three things simultaneously, and that versatility is precisely why it became irreplaceable. Today, WD-40 is sold in more than 170 countries. It sits in workshops, factories, military facilities, and kitchen drawers worldwide. It has outlasted dozens of competitors and remained essentially unchanged because, simply put, it still works. Norman Larson never set out to create a household legend. He was just a chemist trying to stop a missile from rusting. But on his 40th try, he accidentally solved a problem that millions of people didn't even know they had yet, and that little blue can has been doing it ever since. If this story hits you, subscribe. There's plenty more where that came from.